Hi guys, it's Emily. I'm here to bring you my December wrap up. I'm not really going to be doing all the my favorite books of 2015 and all the other stuff that people do. I'm just going to bring you my one wrap up, and then we're going to be moving on to 2016 because that's so exciting. Um, the reason I'm not doing favorites and everything is just because I don't have the books for that. Like some of my favorites are library books, and some of them I don't have physical copies with me now. Some of them are in Tennessee, and I'm in Texas right now for a holiday and whatever. Okay, moving on. Let's just show you the 7 books that I read in December and have the last wrap up of 2015. So this month I read a ton of ebooks. I read 5 ebooks and then 2 physical books. And the reason I was reading ebooks is because for most of the month I was in Tennessee and I had run out of physical books, and so I didn't have any, and thus the Kindle was my reading source. So the first book I read this month was Jesus Feminist by Bessey, and this is a memoir about Sarah's experience growing up in the evangelical church, where she was taught that women's roles did not include leadership roles, and so it's talking about her experience, and then there's a little bit of academic work about the role of women in the Bible. And I was actually disappointed in this book because the subtitle of this book is Jesus Feminist is the main title, and then the subtitle is an invitation to revisit the Bible's view of women. And so I thought this was going to be an academic book detailing women in the Bible who are good role models, and there was one chapter of that out of 10, and the rest of it was her experience. And so to me, that's not the subtitle was not accurate and kind of misleading, and I was disappointed in that, and so I didn't rate this very highly, and for that reason, and now it's just my fault for not doing more research about what it was actually about. But I was really disappointed that there wasn't more academic, and I will definitely be looking into something that is more academic about regarding the topic of women in the Bible, because I am interested in that. The next book I read was the 5 Red Herrings by Dorothy L. Sayers, and that is a Lord Peter Wimsey mystery, number 7. And I've read Lord Wimsey 1 and 2, and I read the second one earlier this year. And I enjoyed those, and this was only 56 cents on Amazon. You can't really see it that well, can you? But anyway, it's the 5 Red Herrings. And once again, this was not a good book for me. I did not rate it highly. There were too many suspects. The 5 Red Herrings refers to the fact that there are 6 suspects, and there's only one that did it. And so you have all these different stories, and everybody has an alibi, and it got really confusing, and I couldn't remember who half the people were, and I was just annoyed through most of the book, and I complained to my roommate about it several times. I was like, I just want this to be over, and so it was over, and now it's 56 cents of my money that I will never get back. But oh well, it was not that big of a deal. But anyway, it kind of put me off Dorothy L. Sayers for a while. I mean, I like Peter Wimsey, but I didn't like this book. So I would not recommend it at all. The next book I read, also on the ebook, was Building a Life Out of Words by Shawn Smucker. And hold up, what? Oh, there it is. Okay. Building a Life Out of Words by Shawn Smucker. And this is a memoir of Shawn's, he's trying to make it as a full-time writer. And so this is his memoir about the first year of that, and how his parent, or his wife and his children, and him, they moved to his parents' house because they didn't have enough money, and he talked about how, sometimes he felt like a failure, and then he'd get work and he'd feel really excited. And there's some good advice for people who are trying to make it as a full-time writer. This was a good book. I would recommend it if you are looking into pursuing writing full time, and because there was good advice in it in that regard. I got this as a free ebook from Amazon a while ago because it was recommended by Modern Mrs. Darcy, which is a blog I read, and so I was glad to get this off my TBR because it's been on there for a while. The final two ebooks I read this month were the first two Sherlock Holmes stories. I read A Study in Scarlet first, and that's the first book. And I am a big fan of Sherlock Holmes. I love the Robert Downey Jr. movies, and I also am really a fan of the BBC Sherlock series. And so I felt like I should start reading the source material for that. And I got there's 9 Sherlock Holmes books, and they're all free on Feed Books if you want to get them. So I got all of them for free because the copyright just expired recently. And so I read A Study in Scarlet, and then on the plane ride home to Texas for Christmas, I read The Sign of 4, which is the second book, and the A Study in Scarlet, actually, I did not know that much about it. I had seen the BBC Sherlock's A Study in Pink, but it was not, I mean, there were some parts that were the same, but for the most part, the stories are very different. So I was, like, surprised, and I did not actually know, like, the murderer or what happened. But for The Sign of 4, I'd seen the Jeremy Brett version, which is true to the source material, so I did know the outcome already, and I knew like who had murdered him and stuff. But that was okay. It was still a very interesting read. I am gonna keep on with the series, but I'm not going to continue on like right away. But eventually, I want to get all 9 of these read. So 2 out of 9 in the month of December. And after I finished this, I was home in Texas, and so I had some physical books I could read. I received Shelter Cats by Michael Kloth for Christmas, and this is a coffee table book of photos of kitties, and it's got really beautiful pictures of cats, and like there's little cute stories about cats, and all of these cats, look at this bat cat, all of these cats are in shelters, and so it's this, oh, look at this baby. This book, originally, when it first came out in 2010, like, the proceeds went to support animal shelters and things like that. I don't think the copy my mom bought me got that, but I'm not sure. But anyway, so this was just a really cute book of cats, and there's not much writing, so, I mean, technically I didn't read it, per se. I, like, looked at the pictures and read the little bits in it. But yeah, this was the 6th book that I read in December. And then the last book I read was More Than a Carpenter by Josh McDowell. This has been on my shelf to read for a long time. And since it was so short and it was getting close to the end of the year, I wanted to get it done before January 1st so that I could start out the new year and start reading for my challenges and stuff. And this book is just basically like a evidence-based like testimony on the divinity of Jesus and like whether Jesus was the Son of God. More Than a Carpenter refers to the fact that Jesus was a carpenter, and so it's talking about how he was not just a carpenter, he was also the Son of God. And it talks about the evidence they found in archaeology and just in like data, like testing the paper that the New Testament's written on, like copies that they found, and it talks a lot about like the testimony of the disciples and like why would the disciples, like 11 of the 12 disciples, the original disciples, well, okay, not Judas, but the original 12 after Judas, 11 out of those 12 men died in a terrible way. Either they were crucified or they were stoned to death or whatever. And it talked about how, like, why would all 11 of these men die for something that was not true? It's like, you would have to be pretty crazy to die for a lie in such a horrific manner. And so, is it possible that 11 of 12 men were so crazy that they would die for a lie. Like, it's not very likely. So clearly, there should be some, there should be some discussion on whether or not Jesus, like, if you don't believe Jesus was the Son of God, you should wonder why all these men would die for such a crazy lie. So personally, I found this very interesting. This was my mom's book, but she gave it to me, so I'm gonna keep it, and I definitely will be looking at it again because it was a fascinating read, and I really appreciated how he used evidence because I'm the kind of person who I really like evidence and I want to have evidence for everything. So I appreciated this book. So those are the 7 books that I read in December, and I've already started reading a book. It's January 3rd when I filmed this, so yeah, I've already started my first book of 2016, which is really exciting. And before I go, I want to show you, I hung out with my friend Elena for Christmas, and she got me this beautiful Jane Austen mug with quotes from Jane Austen's books, and I'm so excited, and it's so pretty, look at it. And there's Jane, she's so cool. And, you can put soup in it or coffee or whatever. So it's really cool. And this is from the Unemployed Philosophers Guild. If you want to get one for yourself, they have all kinds of mugs. But yeah, look at my Jane Austen mug. So Jane and I wish you a Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a great holiday and New Year's. And I will see y'all later. Bye.